Hello, once again, 2v2 on Rails and Metal. O'Field and DoktorPsycho versus RtN, which is short for, remember the name, I believe, Fridod and Diancecht, or something. Fridod playing as Americans, Diancecht playing as the Soviets, and double over Commando West for O'Field and DoktorPsycho. Germans starting out in the south. We have Volksgrenadier start from O'Field, Volksgrenadier start from DoktorPsycho. Not looks like maybe Sniper first. No, Maxim first from Diancecht, and Rifleman, of course, double Rifleman coming from the American. Looks like DoktorPsycho went for this strat point first rather than going over here and skipping past it. Worth noting that this point is actually not necessary to hold if you have this one. You're not cut off as long as you have one of the two, because this point connects to both of those, which I think is sort of interesting. Kind of makes this point kind of irrelevant. It's almost just like a free resource point. I'm not sure what the deal is. I think it exists almost purely as a symmetry to this point, which I also don't understand the purpose of, but I'm not a map designer, so I guess it's just to have that little bit of extra resource income, if not much of anything else. Stern Pioneers moving up on the fuel. Axis players not grouping up too much. It looks like they're both going to be going for their own sides, possibly, and the same goes for the Allies. Soviet player moving for the left fuel, actually skipped past this strategic point over here, hoping to just be connected via this munitions, moving the Maxim up to capture actually from behind. Riflemen grouping up towards the center. Looks like they're going to work on the victory point first rather than the fuel. And this opening engagement has gone extremely poorly for Fridod. He was moving away from those Stern Pioneers in the open, bringing him down to about 50% HP, one squad member down. He immediately retreats those Stern Pioneers, probably a good call. He never should have moved into this covered area in the first place, though. He should have pulled back once that second Rifleman squad arrived, tried to take advantage of the fact that he got sort of good damage in that initial burst. Meanwhile, rear echelon troops getting picked off by DoktorPsycho over here. And it looks like O'Field is going to get a very quick mechanized regiment headquarters. That is, I think he got that right after his third Volk squad. So 3 Volks straight into mechanized regiment. He's probably going to go for a flak half-track would be my guess. Looks like he's rushing it. Getting a Puma that quick would be sort of strange. Unless he's rushing a Stuka, also possible. Not necessarily a bad idea against Maxims when you see that, which I believe he may have seen. Yes, he's definitely seen that now. Schumann going down over here from DoktorPsycho. Riflemen sort of setting up a screen over here. Looks like they're going to try and form like a bit of a wall right here. Probably going to start creeping forward with Maxims and Riflemen to the maximum possible extent that they can, but this is quite a screen of Volksgrenadiers guarding this fuel, so that's going to be a tough position to crack. Defensive position also going up. Riflemen moving up on the victory point, and at the very least the Allies will have control of the clock, but other than that the map is split perfectly down the middle, it looks like. And the Allies are going to want to push forward as soon as they can. Folks in green cover, folks in the building, Riflemen about to charge, taking heavy damage and casualties though. Maxim not getting much penetration against that wall. Riflemen also poorly positioned, they're not really taking advantage of this car. They're not retreating though, he's just walking back. He's probably going to bring an ambulance up, reinforce, and then try a slightly different strategy. I think he might have been considering closing into minimum range, but took too much damage and decided to back off. Folks getting a little bit aggressive, taking up a position in this forward house. Not really necessary. I'm not sure what he thinks he's going to gain by doing that. O'Field, in the meantime, however, is moving up on the left side, taking over this fuel. Looks like this Maxim cannot fire from... Oh, yes it can. There's no windows on the north side of this house, but it does have a rather wide angle of fire. You'll notice that the Maxim's angle of fire, I think, like almost triples when inside of a building. So Maxims are actually very good in buildings compared to the MG42 and MG34, which are not actually that great in buildings. But the Maxim gains a much wider arc of fire. Ambulance finally hits the field. Riflemen are taking advantage of that. It looks like O'Field will maybe get this capped. No, he crawls out. Grenade going out. Doesn't quite inflict as many casualties as it could have, but due to the fact that there's no windows over here, Volksgrenadiers are somewhat safe. They may be able to pick it off entirely. And indeed, we do see the quick flak track hitting the field, and that, or flak half track, and that will chase off one squad of conscripts over here on the right. Meanwhile, the Volksgrenadier blob is pushing forward. This fighting position is faced a little strangely, but he actually runs, almost runs in front of it. Catches his mistake just in time. We do see the lieutenant on the field as well, another fighting position going up, so Fridod seems to really like fighting positions. Volksgrenadiers taking up position in green cover, but they could get overwhelmed if these riflemen charge. And now that they're moving back across red cover, those riflemen definitely should charge, and it's a shame that he didn't. That could have been good. Then again, there's a Puma here. Doesn't want to get harassed too much or pushed by the Puma back into red cover. He also runs the risk of running into this shoe mine right here and this one right here. So actually, it's actually good that he didn't charge. He probably doesn't know about these mines. If he does, though, that could have affected his decision, because those two mines could definitely ruin a charge across this road, and more likely a charge straight down from the American base would be a little bit more likely to succeed. You don't have to cross a road, and you don't have to go up against them standing in these green cover positions. There's only yellow cover in its general area, so something to consider. Rather than charging down from the northwest, you may want to go down in from the northeast. But it looks like they're going to wait until they have some higher tech solutions. Now there's a Puma and a flak half-track on the field. If we take a look at what Fridod is doing, no commander selection yet, I don't think. No. He's going with a captain first, so he's probably going to try and get some quick AT guns or possibly a Stuart to try and deal with these light vehicles that they're up against right now. There is a Zis on the field getting one good shot against the Puma. And neither side is being particularly aggressive. They're sort of letting the Oberkommando West sit back and build up. Maybe a mistake on their part. They really need to form a coordinated and effective push. If they just sort of sit back and relax, then they're going to get overwhelmed by heavier and stronger Oberkommando units. And unfortunately, that is one of the realities of the Allies, the U.S. and more so than the Soviets. That it's on you to sort of be aggressive and push and attack at all times, and never just sort of sit back. So it can be very high pressure.
Welcome to the death factory, boys. Stick with me, and you might just.
And it's always bad to end up in a situation where you're not sure what to do. And I think that's the case here. I think they're not sure what to do. And this position is just getting stronger and stronger. 2 MG34s, flak emplacement, flak half-track, mines. This is going to become very difficult to punch through, and that Raket Morpher also protecting against light vehicles. And the reason this is going to be so difficult to punch through is that they haven't attacked at all, and they've just let them sit back and fortify. Meanwhile, we've got a bit of a push by O'Field on the left side. Looks like it's working pretty well. Minesweeper's forced to retreat. There is a Soviet mine right there that has been detected. Rifle Blob moves up to push back the advance, and that's definitely going to succeed, I think. He's throwing grenades to try and detonate the mine. Mine is undamaged, though, by that. Volksgrenadiers might hit this mine on the retreat. No, not quite. So the Allies will get their fuel back. In the meantime, DoktorPsycho has taken over the central victory point, though. Allied riflemen moving up. They make it to the green cover just in time, so this MG34 will not be able to suppress them. We also see a bar upgrade on these riflemen. Stern Pioneers getting focused. They're chased away, and the MG decides to retreat. Puma also pulling back, but worst case scenario, gets hit by an anti-tank grenade, which would be a waste of munitions, actually, because he'll easily repair it. There's absolutely no reason to do this. He's just bleeding manpower and munitions. So that was, I think, kind of a sign of desperation, but yeah, really no point in firing anti-tank grenade of any kind at an enemy if you're not going to be able to follow up. And as this gun was not moving to respond, there's no form of anti-tank vehicle or light vehicle or tank or anything moving up, so that was just sort of a pointless thing to do. This is starting to fire its barrage at some of these, actually at some Volksgrenadiers over here. What he should be doing probably is moving up a little bit, using the barrage ability on these machine guns, on this flak emplacement. He should just destroy the flak emplacement with its regular fire. What the issue probably is that they're going to struggle to get line of sight, because if they get too close, then they're going to come under fire. So they do need some form of spotting, and Fridod does have Pathfinders, which have very long sight range, and of course, DeonSect has chosen the support weapon combo, so if he does vet this thing up, he could get tracking on it, although I think tracking does not quite give it the full sight radius of its arc of fire, unfortunately. I think it used to, but it does not anymore. O'Field moving up on the left side, pushing back a squad of rear echelon troops, but there is a Maxim ready this time, and there's a T-34 as well, and that T-34 will be able to kill this flak track if it gets too close, but at the same time these Volksgrenadiers have two Panzerschrecks, so it could be a matter of who overextends first. Also, some guards here don't have DPs, so they can't button just yet. Puma not moving up to meet the T-34, he's just sort of hanging out in the middle. Possibly not wanting to expose himself to these AT guns if he doesn't have to, preferring that the T-34 charge him. Ooh, barrage going out on these Volksgrenadiers. T-34 taking pot shots as well at maximum range, as it should be doing. The best thing to do with tanks against anti-tank infantry is try and pick them off at max range, because tanks can outrange AT infantry. Obersoldaten and MG34 here on the left. Looks like they both DoktorPsycho and O'Field have tech to Obersoldaten, and they both have access to MG34s, I think. Yes, Fortifications Doctrine, and DoktorPsycho has also, oh no, Luftwaffe. So, oh no, they're both Luftwaffe, what am I saying? Yeah, they're both Luftwaffe, so they're actually going to suffer a little bit in the late game. Luftwaffe kind of falls off a little bit without any doctrinal column tanks. They, of course, do still have access to the King Tiger. But Fallschirmjäger are not the best elite infantry. Good for flanking weapon teams, though, as you can see here, if you pop out of the right building. But they're a little bit fragile, and they bleed manpower like crazy, and I think he's going to lose that full squad. Yes, he will. So that's a lot of manpower invested into that. But the MG34s are definitely doing their job, providing a really difficult wall to punch through. I think the Allies are really sort of starting to feel the pain of not having pushed earlier. They have to dedicate a large portion of their forces at this point in the mid-game to just defending their own assets rather than pushing their opponent, which really sets them back, because they need to start getting control of more territory as the game goes on rather than less. The position over here on the right is actually not that fortified anymore, as units have been rededicated to the attack on the left side, so they actually could punch through here if they coordinated a push. And it looks like they are actually bleeding their opponents somewhat reasonably as they're pushing forward. Their pushes are failing, and they're sort of bleeding and losing squads and men, so they may soon be in a position to push the right side, hopefully. MG34 working on units in the middle. Obersoldaten helping. Those rifles taking heavy damage, but they do get the point capped. So the clock will continue. Actually, the clock is stopped, but as soon as the conscripts get this, the clock will continue ticking in the Allies' favor, which they really need, because they're actually almost. I don't know, they're not behind, but still, their opponent has 400 victory points left. 15 minutes in, that's a little on the high side. They need to get that clock ticking faster, and obviously, without control of all 3 victory points, that's not going to happen. Captain suicidally charging forward. Some sort of artillery coming in. I think that might be incendiary artillery. What is that? That is Fridod's Major's artillery? Yes, that was Major artillery. That is definitely the worst artillery in the game. Drops 3 shells rather inaccurately and very slowly, even though it's called a rapid barrage, which is the opposite of what this ability is, but okay. Huge waste of 120 munitions. I suggest that if you're ever considering using this ability, reconsider, because it's not very good. But being that he's airborne, he doesn't have access to any other form of artillery, and his teammate has gone with guards and also has no access to anything other than the IL-2 precision bombing strike, which is still 5 command points away, and it's a 200 munitions investment. And is also rather slow to arrive, so it's better dedicated to large, heavy, slow, or immobilized targets. Things are still at a relative standstill. Both sides of this engagement too timid to really make a coordinated push. I mean, you should not be afraid to use your Soviet weapon teams aggressively. The Maxim is the best machine gun in the game as far as aggressively pushing goes. It has a very fast setup time, so it's very easy to move forward in a relatively safe fashion. Oh geez, it looks like a Sturm Tiger is now on the field, and that could spell disaster for that set of stuff. There goes one Zis, and that's going to be the beginning of this Sturm Tiger's reign of terror. Probably picking off these team weapons one by one if these T-34s cannot mobilize to deal with that. And because the Allies have been so lax on their pushes, there's almost no way they're going to be able to take down that Sturm Tiger. They'll have to go through a Panther, a Raketenwerfer, a Puma, this thing. Actually, quite a few Raketenwerfers, so that's just not going to happen. Supply half-track sort of sitting in a strange spot, gets taken down. That doesn't actually matter that much at this point, though. I mean, the supply half-track's free. I mean, the worst thing that is that it gave a little bit of free veterancy to the T-34, which is significant, but it's not really the end of the world. Sherman on the field, which means that DoktorPsycho teched pretty much perfectly. While the Panther is extremely cost inefficient, I would not recommend the Panther. One Panther is still going to beat one Sherman. You don't really need to worry too much about that, as long as you're not sitting in the arc of fire of a Zis. Captain taking heavy damage, Blob getting focused down. Panther's frontal armor doing a good job deflecting those max range Zis shots. Grenade goes out on those riflemen, damaging them severely. I think they're actually not really losing any full squads on either side, both doing a good job of paying attention and retreating just in time. So just super cautious play by both sides. No side wants to lose a decisive engagement. The problem is, of course, that the Allies will lose if they let this continue, especially if that Sturm Tiger continues wiping out full weapon teams. T-34s move forward, inflict a little bleed, pull back, get repaired. Oh, looks like the Panther's getting somewhat aggressive. It's really not necessary to get too aggressive as the Axis. You can afford to just slowly work the clock, slowly work the resources, build up, get strong. Whittle them away with things like this, the Sturm Tiger, until eventually they just can't stop you and overwhelm the map. It looks like this could be a really good shot. Not sure what it wants to shoot at. Could shoot at the Blob, could shoot over here. It looks like it's going for the Blob. Looks like it might miss. Yes, it does. Not a very good shot. I'm not sure if that hit the terrain or if he aimed it there. That was lucky for the Allies. That inflicted no casualties. Sherman taking heavy damage, though. It got shocked by the blast and took a few free shots from that Puma. It does make it away to safety, though. Panther also getting a little overly aggressive, though. Gets engine damage, taking fire from the Zis gun. The T-34, I think it's gonna die. Maybe. Maybe not. If this shot misses. Oh, there it goes. Maximum range does take it out. Puma smoke was a little bit off. I think he was trying to screen the Panther, but I think he was screening it from this blob, not realizing that Zis was still gonna take a shot. So well played by the Allies there, taking out that Panther. That's pretty much a perfect example of why the Panther's not great. Its armor is just not what it could be, considering what you're paying. You pay way too much I mean, you pay the price of a heavy tank, and you get a medium tank, I think is the real issue. But Sturm Tiger will be reloading soon, if it hasn't already. Yes, it has. We'll be moving up. And hopefully he will aim that shot a little bit better this time. If, for example, he spots that Major, spots that ambulance. Oh, jeez, this whole area is just littered with juicy targets. He could shoot just about anything with that thing. And it would pay off. They are really clumping themselves up, which is just, it's crazy when you're up against a Sturm Tiger. In fact, I'm really surprised that the American hasn't concentrated a push over here on the right side, which is now completely undefended. They have shifted all units away because the American has been so lax on it. If he doesn't pressure all points of the map, then there's no reason for the Axis to split up, and when super concentrated like this is when they're really powerful. Sturm Tiger decides to take out a Maxim. Certainly nothing wrong with that. I mean, it gets to fire every minute, so hey, why not? But there are definitely juicier targets. Definitely juicier targets. It's no big deal, though. It's free. He'll be ready to fire again in the near future. And situations like this are exactly why reconnaissance is so important. I don't think either of them has access to any form of recon. They, of course, do have airborne assault, and they can pop out of buildings, although this building's leveled. But if they only knew about this Major, this position, that would just be... Ooh. It could be GG in one Sturm Tiger shot. And that's where the infrared half-track and the Kugelwagen's detection ability sort of really shine against enemies that are just parked in one tiny little sector on the map. M36 hits the field. Looks like he's going to try and pound the Sturm Tiger / Puma from maximum range. It looks like one of the T-34s has gone down. I'm not sure exactly where that happened, though. And it looks like O'Field is going to put a little bit of pressure over here, maybe. Good Rakettenwerfer coverage, by the way, by O'Field. He's definitely not going to let some giant tank army come blazing through. And as far as giant tank armies go, we do see 288 fuel stockpiled by DionSect, so he's probably saving up for that ISU. So he has picked a really good late game commander, and he does have the command points for it, actually, so he's probably going to be bringing that in soon. In fact, the only thing stopping him is population cap. Another AT gun taken out. I think team weapons are the best targets for Sturm Tigers. It's a guaranteed kill. It'll vet you up. It'll take out a team weapon permanently. It doesn't just decrew it. Shooting at a blob can be tempting, but decent chance that they'll dodge. And you don't want to waste your shots, and taking out a team weapon is pretty much a guaranteed return on investment. Especially AT guns. I think AT guns give you a little bit more veterancy than machine guns do. I could be wrong about that. That's kind of just my instinct based on the HP of the weapon itself. Another Panther hits the field, doing some okay damage to that T-34. There is a Zis guarding the flank. This is just a brutal slugfest over these middle points. The American really, really needs to push the right side, or the Soviet, anybody. They really just need to spread out. And one of the problems with Rails and Metal as allies is that the map is quite narrow, so it's very difficult to spread out and just sort of just crawl all over the map. You kind of are boxed in a little bit. Ooh. Full squad gets taken out there. Just sheer firepower. Oh, the Puma went down. I think I got a little too close to a Zis over here. That's interesting. I'm not sure what he was doing over there with that. I don't even know what made it get in range. I don't know what it was chasing. Some kind of artillery coming in over here. Looks like, what is that, a Katyusha? No? I don't know what that is. I have no idea what that was. Something. Tons of MGs set up in the middle as well. O'Field's Panther pulls back for repairs as his Sturm Tiger's moving up to looks like it's going for this field gun. Yes. Winding up, could actually snag engineers. No, misses them, but it does get the field gun, netting it veteran C1, so it's going to have the grenade ability, which I don't think I've ever even seen anybody use. Wow, the Jackson is actually moving up. 2 Jacksons moving up, as well as a captain. Both shots deflected, though. And he's going to pull back because this blob is just way too much. Barrage coming in from a Zis gun could be a pretty good one, actually. Yes, it is. It's definitely going to deal heavy damage to those machine guns. Nice. Captain taking a little bit of damage. He's going to have to pull back. Machine gun cleared. Other one forced to retreat. This actually could provide an opening for a giant blob of American infantry, possibly. Maybe not. They're actually kind of wounded right now. Major moving up, though. So it looks like they're going to try and advance. And they're finally beginning their slow crawl forward. 26 minutes in, though, it's so late. It's going to be really difficult. But at least they're finally pushing. Utilizing some artillery. Utilizing hit their heavy guns. The Jackson is fragile, but has great range, great firepower, as everybody knows. So it should hopefully help to deter the Sturm Tiger, if not kill it outright. But the Sturm Tiger, the thing about it is, even though it's an assault gun, it has just awesome armor. Armor and health. Very difficult to bring down. Considering its role, you'd think it might be a little more fragile, but you pay such a heavy price tag for it. ISU on the field. Doesn't make it the grand entrance it was hoping for, though. Misses its first shot. Still, every single shot an ISU fires has the potential to wipe out an entire squad. It's important not to spend too much time randomly driving it around, though. You want to keep it firing. Oh, gets a shot off on the Sturm Tiger as it's making its advance. And Field is quickly changing his mind and getting out of there. So the Jacksons and ISU combined are definitely going to do a good job deterring that Sturm Tiger. He just can't risk moving it in to take a juicy shot anymore without some serious retribution from that ISU. Tough to vet these things up, though, despite the heavy damage they deal. You really, really have to kill a lot of stuff or shoot a lot of stuff with an ISU to start getting vet on there. But even without vet, it's a Nazi killing machine. I'm not sure this ability was really necessary to toggle, considering he's got so many spotters up here. Needs to move it up a little bit. Just gotta keep it firing. T-34 is doing a little spotting as well. Oversold out and taken out. And these pushes are gonna start getting pretty intense with ISU and Jackson support. The infantry are all Vet 3. They all have bars or something. Some of them do anyway. And backed by a Maximin as this, so this is a pretty good push. I think the American needs to move his major up a little bit at this point. He's still got to retreat a little far, which is going to slow things down just that extra bit. And finally, we see something over here. Fridod decides to dedicate one squad of rear echelon troops to retaking the right side victory point, and some Fallschirmjäger are deployed to deal with that. So that's good, because this is almost nothing for Fridod to invest in taking over the map, but this is 440 manpower invested by O'Field to counter it, so already super efficient. Just imagine if he had actually been doing this all game long. Just that one little gesture has already forced O'Field into a huge investment. It's a real shame that this ISU is not still firing, though. They need to keep sight. They need to just keep the pressure up. They do have 2 victory points, so the clock is ticking in their favor, but they need to just keep the pressure up. And Pathfinders are perfect for that. Looks like that's what he's doing. He's trying to spot with those Pathfinders, but they don't cloak unless they're in cover, and there's nothing left in the middle, although these craters are probably still sufficient. I'm not sure if the Pathfinders need veterancy to cloak, though. No. No, they just are naturally camouflaged and covered. You might need heavy cover, though. I think maybe yellow cover might not be sufficient. Flag emplacement finally spotted. Ooh, finally some paratroopers on the field, too. I think that's the first I've seen of that. Flag emplacement, chasing them off. Sturm Tiger moving back up. If it catches those 2 Jacksons, that could be disaster. Oh, ISU doing heavy damage, but it is firing. I think it might hit something. Yes, it does. It takes out one of the Jacksons. So good shot by O'Field there. And if it takes any more damage from that ISU, possibly... No. If it took one more hit, it would be Veterancy 2, which would actually benefit it, ironically. Also, if you just need a hair of vet to vet up, you can use the Sturm Tiger's hull machine gun to do just a little bit of damage to some random infantry unit or something, and then that will get the job done as well. Because the Sturm Tiger's hull machine gun actually does do, like, a little damage. It's not useless. It's not great. I wouldn't go charging at a giant blob with the Sturm Tiger just to use the hull machine gun, but that's one situation where it actually does make the difference. Blob moving forth on the middle. This flak emplacement is finally going to get bombed. I think that's major artillery again. Yeah, looks like it. I wish he'd stop using that. It just breaks my heart. He's got all these munitions. I want to see them used efficiently. It's just terrible. It's a stationary target. Like, this is ridiculous. Pathfinder artillery from Recon Commander would devastate this thing. Mechanized artillery. In fact, I started a thread on the forums about exactly this issue. That was terrible. Oh, that paratrooper unit just got killed trying to enter this building by these Sturmpyos. That was a huge mistake. He's getting way too overextended over here. It's good. I like his attitude. I'm glad he's finally pushing, but he's going about it all wrong. He doesn't have support from his teammate. He doesn't have the necessary firepower. And he's using all the wrong abilities. He's not going to be able to call in this P-47 strafe either, the way he keeps burning his munitions on that major artillery. P-47 strafe, by the way, despite how inaccurate and unreliable it is, quite good on this map. It's open and flat and great against the King Tiger, which is impossible to miss because of its huge size and low speed. It's very difficult for a King Tiger to dodge the P-47 rocket strafe. This is basically the best target. The King Tiger and the regular Tiger. Anything with a wide, or anything that's really broad. The Panther, for example, on the scout car, most light vehicles, sometimes will take no damage from the strafe. King Tiger and Tiger, on the other hand, will, the vast majority of the time, take very heavy damage, assuming that the P-47 actually chooses to target it. Also, note that it will circle the entire map. It really doesn't matter where you call it in. So if you don't want them to see the red smoke, you can just call it in somewhere in the fog, and it'll still circle around and fire. And if you do want them to see the red smoke, then the best thing to do is drop the smoke on some enemy infantry, and they'll think that it's some sort of anti-infantry artillery and hopefully retreat. And so you'll get a forced retreat as well as the effects of the P-47 rocket strafe, so that can be a good dual use of the ability. Panther needs to back off. It's taking heavy damage from that Jackson. I don't think he's noticed. Some sort of artillery coming in over here, though. Jackson misses a shot right there. Finally notices. It looks like he might get out. Unfortunately, the Jacksons were forced to back up because of the King Tiger pushing forward. That I don't know what he is doing with that Panther. I'm amazed it's not dead right now. It looks like he gave a reverse order to go somewhere over here, and so it turned backwards, reversed that way, and then went over here instead of taking the safer route, which is really funny. It's too bad the Allies were not able to capitalize on that. Heavy damage being inflicted on the ISU. King Tiger is moving up, trying to take out some enemy armor, but the allies are doing a good job of microwing their tanks. In fact, that KT is taking heavy damage, getting circle strafed. Sherman doing a good job of soaking up the damage. I mean, of all the things that could be soaking right now, the Sherman is definitely ideal. And that KT is way overextended and completely unsupported. He's going to lose that. So, definitely a mistake on DoktorPsycho's part right there. The allies were able to completely take that out and took no losses in return. So that is a huge waste of that King Tiger. Sturm Tiger, on the other hand, is fully repaired. Vet 2 continuing to whittle away the enemy forces. There's still plenty of Soviet team weapons on the field, but you can really tell that he's hurting because of that Sturm Tiger. He has no general infantry. He has no tanks. He has nothing but the heavy assault gun and his team weapons, forced to constantly keep those reinforced and repaired and that kind of thing. Ooh, nice bundle grenade. Clears all the veterancy off that AT gun. Very nice. Due to the huge amount of resource float, I'm assuming that DeonSect is going to go for another ISU. Or possibly not. He just spent a lot of fuel, actually. So that could be, what, a Katyusha or something? No, he's just getting a standard T-34, or yeah, T-34. It looks like he's built Tier 3 and Tier 4, so pretty fuel inefficient late game, or at least mid game, from DeonSect there. Not sure if that was the best decision. Building Tier 3 and Tier 4 and bringing in an ISU, that's just tons of fuel overhead and associated with that kind of building. And considering the Sturm Tiger is bleeding him so badly, that's definitely a problem. Nice use of the Luftwaffe ability right here. That is Inspired Assault, Valiant Assault. Valiant Assault, they move, they effectively are sprinting. The Katyusha has to stop mid-barrage because of how fast they are, and that ISU turns its rear armor. He's trying to get maximum speed out of it, I guess. It does, of course, go faster. Moving forward, then moving backwards. Ooh, nice Blitzkrieg assault from that Panther. O'Field is driving it right up. There is no way that ISU is getting away from this. Great use of Blitz on that Panther. Very nice. Sturm Tiger also moving up to support, but it's kind of run out of targets. Looks like that is, yep, that's definitely dead. Sturm Tiger may be firing. I think it has found assist to shoot, which it misses somehow. But the ISU is taken out by the Panther, netting him Veterancy 2 on the Panther, so that's very nice. Volksgrenadier is taking heavy damage, though. And the T-34 is hitting the field. P-47 rocket strafe just got called in. I'm not sure what it's going to choose to shoot at. Oh! It looks like a Jackson, Sherman, and T-34. Oh, geez, that was abandoned, but they destroyed it for some reason. That's a shame. P-47 rocket strafe still circling, hasn't picked a target yet. It's taking fire from anti-tank, or anti-air weapons on the field. I'm not sure what it's going to go for yet. The Sturm Tiger is the only thing I can reasonably see it targeting. But,
we're at 200 points.
Not sure. It may be a little too far away from the radius, or from the area that it got called in. Sherman gets taken out by a Vet 5 Rakettenwerfer now. Wow, that thing has been positioned very nicely. Once it hits Vet 5, it has great range and penetration. Becomes a really effective anti-tank weapon. Katyusha firing at said Rakettenwerfer. Might clear it out if it doesn't move. Is retreating. Yeah, I don't think that P-47 fired. I think he called it in too far back. That's a shame. Which, like I said before, or I have said before, is one of the reasons I don't like it. That's 240 munitions he just spent for literally zero benefit. It didn't even fire. It didn't do anything. I mean, it could have done something. And it's a shame that it's so unreliable. Because when it does do something, it's like amazing. It can do devastating damage. That was a strange shot from that Sturm Tiger. He just wiped out 3 of his teammates Obersoldaten. and didn't really do much of anything except for temporarily disable the T-34 engine. Obersoldaten chasing off a Maxim machine gun. I'm actually not sure why it's... That's a weird icon. I've not seen this damaged engine icon before. I'm pretty sure that means it's going to wear off on its own, but it still hasn't worn off, so maybe that's some sort of bug or something? I don't know. That's weird. Yeah, still hasn't worn off. Weird. T-34 is pushing the middle, but the Axis is just too hard to push back at this point. That Katyusha has been a little bit disappointing as well. Oh, that was a lucky rocket, though. Yeah, it's just totally random. That's the thing about the Katyusha. It's very unreliable. Either it completely just devastates, or it does, like, nothing. Looks like 2 Katyushas have been purchased. And those 2 barrages actually work quite nice, forcing one Rocket Warfare to retreat, killing another, and wiping out a full Fallschirmjäger squad. Fallschirmjäger and Obersoldaten moving up. It looks like a lot of riflemen have died, and therefore he's forced to purchase new squads. They have no veterancy, no upgrades. Major gets taken down. Jeez, the American is bleeding really badly right now. Does still have 2 Jacksons on the field, though, so at the very least he can somewhat deter the Sturm Tiger. Which was a great purchase by Ofield. It's definitely pulling its weight big time. It's a shame he lost his Panther. He did take out the ISU, though, which was huge. And with all of this fuel invested into separate tiers and Katyushas, it looks like DeAncecht will not be able to purchase another one, at least not in the near future. And I think that the ISU is probably better than Katyushas in this situation. It can fire much more frequently, has high chance of taking out these vetted squads with every shot it takes as possible. Sturm Tiger is going to fire, maybe. It's going to miss, though. Shoots nothing. Meanwhile, the Jackson is doing pretty decent damage. Those Katyushas are just dying to fire. Not quite able to yet, though. Forcing the Jacksons and Shermans and infantry and other random things to do the best they can.
We are down to 100 points.
100 points remaining. And another King Tiger has hit the field. This time it's O'Fields. Hopefully he will use it a little bit more wisely than his teammate did. Katyusha firing at the KT for some reason. Katyusha vehicle damage is not great. Like, even when it hits, it's not that impressive. A couple good shots from that Vet 3 assist, though. Jackson's also creeping up a little bit.
You are showing weakness. We are down to 75 points.
T-34 is pushing forward. Allies are rapidly running out of points. If they don't capture one of these victory points, it's going to be GG very soon. And honestly, with the current state of things, I'm not sure it's even possible to come back at this point. With another King Tiger on the field, Sturm Tiger's up to Vet 2. Three Vet 5 Volksgrenadier squads with Panzerschrecks screening a smattering of useful things on DoktorPsycho's end. He does have a Panther, which I think this game is a perfect example of the Panther just being terrible. Not terrible, but it's just not good enough. I mean, it's just not good in its role. It's just not. Its armor is not that great. It's just so expensive for what you get. I think that it fills the exact same role as the Jackson, but the Jackson's cheaper. Has a little more health than the Jackson, I'll grant you that. But you can't spam Panthers the way you can spam Jacksons, and they have less range and seem to do less damage, maybe. I could be wrong about that, but I don't know. I've just seen Panthers fail so many times. Obersoldaten taking heavy damage. Sturm Tiger killed something up here. netting at 6 kills, I think, roughly. Might have been a weapon team or something. And at this point, it's pretty much come down to area denial. They're just simply stopping the Allies from capturing to the maximum possible extent. The Allies are working on the middle, though. But the airborne assault coming in on the left side will start those Fallschirmjäger capturing. And they may be able to force those infantry away, yes. Airborne coming up to counter, though. T-34s trying to push off these Fallschirmjäger, and the Allies are just getting desperate, throwing everything they have at these victory points. Whereas the Axis still has 259 victory points in the bank. They're in great control. There's really nothing the Allies can do at this point. T-34 is making a desperate charge. There's a Zis gun actually right there supporting. Ofield pops Blitz to try and get his King Tiger to safety, which is possibly going to lure these T-34s deep into enemy territory, into the range of this Panther. And they are both destroyed by the superior German armor. Which I think is going to pretty much wrap up this game. Yep, GG. So yeah, I think that what this pretty much comes down to is a lack of aggression from the Allies. They just never push the right side. There was one rear echelon squad, and that was the extent of the Allied push on the right side. I don't know why they weren't more aggressive. They seemed content to just sit back and let themselves be overwhelmed by heavy German armor. It can be tough to push on this map. I know that from experience, but you have no choice. If you just sit back, then this is inevitably what's going to happen. Heavy German tanks are just going to steamroll everything you've got. They even prepared for the heavy German armor. They took straight to Jackson's and an ISU, and they still couldn't handle it. It just wasn't enough. And I think it's very hard to micro Jackson's just right to where you're taking out enemy tanks but not losing your own. Very difficult. So the Oberkommando West played this pretty much perfectly. They just grabbed what they needed, sat back, and defended, and didn't get too aggressive. They applied pressure, but they didn't go for any all-in assaults, and that won them the game. It was textbook. So hopefully the Allies will learn from their mistakes. They'll learn to be a little more aggressive in the future, and I hope you enjoyed the game, and thanks for watching.